Hi everyone, thanks so much for joining us today. It's hard to believe it's late August and hopefully some of you have had a lot of time to get some vacation in there before the big September push when everyone's back to school and back to work. So I know this is often considered a slow time in our industry, but a lot of people use it to kind of recover and advance their sort of professional development. So no better way than participating in our webinar. Hopefully we give you a lot of new ideas that you can actually take to practice, give you some ideas on how to use life design analysis perhaps in a different way, or if you're watching us for the first time, give you some ideas on what the system is capable of. Again, if you haven't done so already, certainly sign up for our 30-day free trial and try some of these concepts yourself. I'm just going to quickly show this month's webinar topics. I think we have a really great webinar for you. The first topic that we're really going to cover is a reissue now or wait for term renewal. So I hear this a lot from advisors. We sell a policy to a client and it's coming up for maybe it's a couple years from renewal, maybe it's 5, maybe it's 3, and maybe even our system has notified you of a case opportunity and you're saying, okay, I've got to present this to a client. One of the objections the client might say is, well, why don't I wait 3 more years and convert at the end of that term 10 or term 20 or whatever the term length really is? Why don't I wait until it comes up for renewal and wait then? So we're going to do a case study that really appeals to their financial side, but we're also going to talk about how we can add in things like conveying that does rely on an assumption about their health and things like that. So again, give some strategies around reissue now or wait. The second one, we're going to set up an email campaign using a case shared link, and this time we're going to focus it around charitable giving. So again, if you'd paid attention last month to our webinar, we did one on sort of a cascading life insurance concept. Well, charitable giving is another way we could market to our client base or even our prospect list about another way we can use life insurance that really has a huge benefit, not only for the community, but again, and also in giving a bigger gift. So we're going to show that. We're going to talk a little bit about present value, how to use it in the system, why to use it, what it is. And, again, a lot of the times present value can be looked at, when we're thinking about a future sum of money. Again, it's a way to really protect our clients and help them think about, let's say we need $1 million. Well, does that have the same purchasing power in the future, or should we add more insurance to cover really a discounted value of money in the future? We're also going to talk a little bit about reminders, hopefully give you a few new ideas on how you can use these reminders. We'll show you how they work, but we've got a couple suggestions on how we might use some of them. And then finally, of course, we're going to cover it off with some housekeeping and updates. So I'm going to go ahead and log into my account here, and the first case study that we're really going to do is going to be based around buy now or wait for our term renewal to be reissued. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new case here, and I'm actually going to create a new client. A lot of times I go off my sample client. In this case, I want to make a new one called Mrs. Wants to Wait. And so I'll create a new client here. Now I'm purposely leaving the birth date set. I'm going to say our client is age 47, but I'll use our manual override for that because we're going to be triggering the age a little bit here. And I will put that this is a female client. Again, this is a sort of concept that works with anyone with a term policy who maybe wants to wait till the end of that renewal period before actually purchasing again as opposed to purchasing now. And again, a lot of the times I show an existing term policy versus a term conversion, and those are great, but sometimes not all that realistic for clients. So again, this might be another way to get in front of them early while they're still healthy and make sure they get the best offer for them in their personal situation. Now again, in this case, we're going to be focusing on, again, $1 million of insurance. I like to pick that. It's a nice round number, but it does work with anything out there. And as I mentioned before, I didn't enter a birth date for this actual client, but I will just override the age to 47. Now, some assumptions. We're going to say client bought this policy in 2010. So this is 7 years old, being that it's 2017 now. And it means that the renewal would come on 2020, but we're going to propose that they purchase this policy now at their current age as opposed to waiting 3 years and purchasing at age 50 when that term policy would actually come up for renewal. Now, again, what I'm going to do is to enter this policy in there. Again, there's lots of ways we can search for rates, but again, when we're entering an existing policy without a guaranteed renewal, we want to use that plus manual because it's going to be one of those rates found not through our rate integration. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to say this is a term 10 policy, and I want to give it a description again that tells the story of what we're actually doing. So this is, in all intents and purposes, this is her existing term 10. But what I do also want to put a note at is that it's going to be with a reissue or a repurchase at renewal. And again, whenever you're doing sort of an estimation on future, like again, this in 3 years, we're not sure if she's actually going to be healthy. We want to make a disclaimer that just states that it's not a guarantee that she'll be able to actually get an offer at age 50. Again, something may happen in the next 3 years, some kind of medical condition that she wouldn't get an offer from an insurance company. So I'm going to say this assumes good health and current pricing. Now, pricing is the other. It's probably a little less volatile than health. I mean, historically, pricing has gone down. It's not to say it couldn't go up at any time. But again, we don't want to guarantee a certain future premium when we don't know what rates will be. Now, again, we want to enter her initial premium. This is, again, what she would be paying right now. So this is that first renewal schedule. And again, she would have bought this at age 40. It was only, for $1 million for her, it was only actually $470 per year, which tells you how affordable that term insurance for $1 million can be. Now, at the first renewal, what we want to do is we want to say that she would get a brand new rate. So instead of taking the guaranteed renewal, which would have been something like $3,030, we want to look up and see, what would $1 million of insurance for a 50-year-old female be? Because this is what she will, 40 in 10 years, she will be 50. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come over here, and again, I've got a 50-year-old female. I can see the premium goes up to $1,080. So I'm just going to copy that rate right there and come back here. So that's what I mean. There's a little bit of a manual work here where we just want to put in the renewal schedule. Now, in this concept, we're just focusing on a term 10 for the next 10 years and saying, do we wait 3 more years and buy it at age 50, or do we, purchase it today? I don't really need to enter in any of the other renewal schedules because we're going to focus on roughly a 10-year period. What I do want to put in here, though, is the issue date, and that's what tells our software to take off a certain number of years. So I want to make sure that I put that this policy was issued in 2010 and just indicate that it's 7 years old, and I'll just put August 1st. Again, you can give this extra detail and put in what's actually there from the policy. Again, I'll click Save. So this is basically she waits 3 more years at the renewal period, again, applies with good health and gets a rate of $1,080 at age 50. And what we want to do is we want to say, why don't you repurchase while you're 47 now and avoid the increased rate? Even if you're healthy and repurchase again, we want to say avoid that increased rate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use our Life Guide integration here and search at her current age of 47 for 10-year term and just see what the price would be to purchase it now. And again, this doesn't have to be 3 years from renewal. You could do this 5 years. It could be 1 year from renewal. I think the whole idea is to just show clients, really the value of the product at their age. And again, you can go through this survey. It's baked in. We have the Life Guide rates inside of our system. And again, if you're a Life Guide subscriber, you do get that half-off discount. So definitely take advantage. Turn your Life Guide data into professional presentations where you can vet and kind of analyze these different situations. Now, I'll just pick an RBC because it's the lowest on the list. I mean, you might go down the list and say Equitable Life has better conversion options, or you may want something that's a little easier to underwrite. So you select as the advisor which company that you'd like out there. Again, a lot of great companies within those top rankings. I'm just going to go, again, I'm trying to make it as competitive as possible. So I'm actually going to go with the RBC because I want the lowest price there. And I'm just going to add that to the case. Now, you can see, because we're looking at Term 10 products, we've set the analyze age to 10 years. You can always adjust this and push it out, but what we really want to show is that, it's better to purchase now, and hopefully over the course of the next 10 years, we're going to have a lower cost overall than waiting 3 years and repurchasing it then. So let's take a look here and generate this report and see how this concept turns out. Again, the whole idea here is motivate your clients to buy now while they're healthy versus waiting and taking risk. And again, ultimately we want to show them, over the next 10 years you can lock in that insurability. So again, we've got our great report. Again, imagine your own logo here, company name, prepared for Miss Wants to Wait. Again, customizable mission statement. And again, what we're going to see here is existing Term 10, repurchase at renewal. And what we can see, because we entered that premium that she was paying and had that 3 years on it, again, 3 years comes up, then she hits that renewal, and we've used, again, an assumption that she's going to be healthy and purchase basically at age 50. And again, you can see that assumption that we put in there is stated right at the top there, which is so important. But again, it's going to have all those policy details about this kind of policy. And again, we're going to see from 4 to 10, we have that increase. And she'd actually have a few more years past that. You can always push out this illustration longer. What we want to show her, though, is that over the next 10 years, because at her current age, she would actually have a premium of $777, she's going to be saving about that $300 for the course of 7 years versus $470 for 3. So let's just see how that plays out over time and see that, sure, we could ride that low rate of the term policy for 3 years. We're going to be 50 when we repurchase, so it's going to be a higher premium than if we paid a little bit more now, but we're locked in for the next 10 years. And when we add up all those costs, again, we can see that the brand new policy is actually in our best interest here. And you can see we're actually saving around $1,000 by actually more than $1,000, and I'll actually go down into our breakdown. Over the next 10 years, we would save $1,200 by purchasing now as opposed to waiting for our renewal. And again, the other benefit here is that this guarantees that we're going to have coverage as opposed to this, which assumes that we're going to be healthy at age 50 and be able to get coverage. So again, we're taking less risk, we are saving money, and all in all, we're servicing the client. So just because a renewal is 3 years from its due date or 4 years from the reissue point doesn't mean there's not a strong comparison to be had to show our clients that new term products may suit their time horizons. So again, this is less about product and more about the time that's relevant for our clients. And again, don't be afraid to do this with a term 20 comparison as well. Works equally well. You may want to wait till something around the 13th, 14th year to start looking at, because again, that's sort of where they would cross over and break even on the savings. But again, it's a nice time to go back to your clients and just say, hey, while you're still healthy, it may be in your interest to reapply, and though it may be a little bit more currently paying, because you're facing a renewal in a couple of years, what you save in your age and health more than makes up for that difference over that course of 3 years. And again, if this was 2 years or 1 year away from renewal, again, that savings becomes, in the initial year, becomes a lot smaller. Now, this is actually a really great case to explore one of the other topics that we have on the agenda, which is present value. And again, I'm going to assume most of the people listening to this webinar are aware of what present value is and why it would be used. So again, I'm going to show how you can use it in this case. But just to give a little bit of a foundation about present value is the current worth of a future sum of money or a stream of cash flows given a specific rate of return. So basically, future cash flows are discounted at a discount rate or an R value in the equation, and the higher the discount rate, the lower the present value of the future cash flows would be. And I really see determining the appropriate discount rate is really the key to making a present value calculation work. And I'm really a big fan of using inflation with my present value. When I'm thinking about more of an investment, instead of making any assumptions, that's when I'd probably switch over to like an internal rate of return, which again also looks at a net present value, but sort of works backwards for it. Really one of the best examples of where I think present value is so effective in describing it is, it would be an example like if I said, look, you give me $1,000 now, and in 5 years, I'll give you that same $1,000 back. Now, if you thought about that, you'd probably say, no way, in 5 years, even just because of inflation, that $1,000 is not going to purchase the same amount of goods or services. Or if I were to take that $1,000 over the course of 5 years, even making, 2% interest, I would have more than $1,000 in 5 years' time. So I would say no to that. And again, that sort of argument might be used in this sort of scenario as well. Someone might say, well, yes, sure, the renewal in this case, definitely it goes up here. And again, I'm just going to scroll back up and say, yes, the renewal goes to $1,080. But again, that's in 3 years' time. So what does that $1,080 in terms of today's dollars? So a case like this where again we're trying to decide, do we purchase now, do we purchase later, we've got to exercise time value of money. So this is a great opportunity to show a present value. So what I'd like to do in this case is actually go back here to the case in the case design here. And again, this is where we can control all of those different options. Now, what you'll see in some of these case controls, if you scroll down to the bottom, is the option to calculate with present value. And all you really have to do is turn it to yes. You can set a discount rate and you can also set your default in there too. So I've got mine set at around 1.5, and that's pretty consistent with inflation. But again, if we're doing maybe more of a long-term projection and we think that inflation rates will go up, we might want to change that to a 2 or 2.5. You can feel free to get as aggressive with this as you feel like. And again, just because I use it for inflation doesn't mean you can't use it to represent some kind of investment over that period of time as well. So I'm going to leave my PV here at 1.5 because, again, we're only talking about 3 years. And, again, it's more of a guess, but I don't think inflation is going to change that much over the course of the next year or two. But essentially, again, all I want to do is turn yes on, and I want to put my R value or my discount rate in there. And, again, I'm just going to generate the report, and we'll take a look at how this looks with a PV component added to it. And, again, there's two really key components that I want to focus in on here. So as we go through the report, again, the one thing I do want to show here is, whenever you apply a PV calculation in your mission statement, right at the very top, you're going to see a disclaimer that it just kind of lets, it's the assumption of what PV or what discount rate was applied. And again, it just automatically puts that in your disclaimer so you don't have to think about it. Now, again, with the premium schedule, again, because it's kind of a static representation here and doesn't do each single year where, again, that premium, if we were adjusting for PV, would change, we don't change the policy or premium schedule for PV, but we do show that year over year. You can see adjusted for present value right here on our charts. And again, what you're looking at, you might say, well, the chart is slightly wonky. I can see that line going on and on. Well, really what it's showing is in terms of future value. So if we remember before, in 3 years' time, that premium actually went up to $1,080. But if we apply a present value of 1.5 in terms of the today's value or the equivalency in today's dollars, that's like the same as $1,017.56. So you can see it's slightly discounted to take into account, in our case I've adjusted for an inflation rate of 1.5. But again, it's discounting a future sum or value to show it in terms of today's dollars. Now I think the other important thing, again, so again, we want to look at this, but if we look at it, and again, even with a 1.5 PV, at the end of the day, this is still saving our client money, even when adjusted for time value of money. And again, the other thing we might want to focus on with PV, and I'll just go down, I'll show you that premium table, is the insurance benefit. So you might wonder, well, I've applied a PV, why am I seeing an insurance benefit chart? Again, this is the existing term 10. We'll also have one for the other term 10. And these will be identical because, again, present value, the future insurance benefit or this $1 million that we picked is also going to be impacted in the same terms. So again, it's important for clients to also think about the other side of that coin. Yes, we can exercise time value of money on premiums, but we also should think about time value of money on insurance benefit. And again, this is 10 years time, but if we need something that has the purchasing power of $1 million, or again, thinking about our human capital and what our power to earn as kind of we grow that, we also have to think about future value of the insurance benefit. So you can see even in 10 years, that $1 million in terms of what it would buy today is only around $861,000. And again, that's where I like clients to think about using PV to show their clients that you might want a little inflation protection in your insurance. So if we do a needs analysis and find out we need $1 million today, of course, some things, if we actually need that same sort of purchasing power in the future, we may want to pad that for a little bit of inflation protection. And that's where, again, some of these PAR policies or the paid-up addition policies or policies that grow in their insurance benefit really fight inflation really well and also work well with a present value calculation. But again, just coming down to the end here, if you recall from before, it was about $12,000 right on the money without a present value calculation. If we take into account that because the renewal comes up 3 years in the future, won't have the same impact as it would in today's dollars. Again, with a 1.5 PV, we can still see we do still save our client money a little bit less. We save them $1,017.88. So even if we stress test this with a present value calculation, it still turns out well. Again, keep in mind, with time, this is only 10 years. We may want to push out or use a PV on a comparison 20, 30 years out. So really powerful metric in the form of a present value. And again, really encourage you to use that for inflation protection, thinking about term renewals when we're estimating a future premium and things like that. Again, makes a really great component. So again, we can see all that out. And again, the insurance benefit, of course, these are impacted equally, so that's what we're looking at here. Now, our next concept that we were going to set up was setting up a charitable giving email campaign. So for any of you who paid attention to last month's webinar, we did a cascading life insurance concept. Well, for this month's webinar, I wanted to set up a sample case, and what we're going to be doing is setting up a charitable giving campaign using a case share. So again, the first thing we want to do is choose the product that we're going to build really the case, something fairly generic for the kind of the concept or the call to action case that we're going to use in our email. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set up a new case, and again, I want to make a new client that's fairly generic. So again, I could just call this charitable gift. And again, what I want to do is, again, I'm not going to make this a certain birth date because it's a conceptual client, but I am going to make it a male here, and I'm going to focus on a 45-year-old. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that manual age override in creating this case. So I'm going to hit continue here. And now I've got my client charitable gift. And again, as I said, I'm going to focus on a 45-year-old male. So I'm just going to set the birth date here. I'm also going to focus on maybe something around a $500,000 gift. Feel free, again, like life insurance, one of the best uses of it is a charitable gift because, again, you can give the same contribution, but as I say, because of that inflated insurance benefit, it really accelerates the impact of those dollars. And I've actually seen this, of course, in practice with the Lawrence Kinlan School of Business. My stepfather gave $1 million to Fanshawe College, and again, seeing not only the impact it's had on the community, but knowing what was deposited to give that kind of gift really has a great accelerating effect. Now, in this sort of kind of strategy, you're definitely looking at a whole life policy, meaning something permanent. So it could be a universal life, it could be a whole life. Anything that I would say is guaranteed to pay out to age 100 or at least up to that. I would say probably the most typical use of this is maybe just a min-funded universal life, but it's not to say you can't use other products to accomplish this as well. Now for this one, because one of the charts I want to show is one of those graphs, I may even use a small PV in the system. And actually I'll show you if you wanted to produce one of those graphs, what we could do is even add one of the, kind of the spreadsheets, or we could even apply a PV as you saw in the previous one. I'm going to use an SSQ spreadsheet. I actually have a quote up for $500,000, so I'm just going to flip over here. You can see I did $500,000, age 45 male, and I just did kind of T100 cost of insurance. I mean, we're not trying to build up cash value in this. It's really all about the insurance benefit. And again, we're going to get the tax write-off. I mean, there's a couple different ways to structure it, but I mean, in kind of the scenario I might draw up, we're going to look at, we may be giving $6,000 already to a charity each year. If we add that up over the years, how much does that total gift add up to? And could we give more using life insurance? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this spreadsheet here, and I'm going to actually export it to Excel. And I'm going to take all these kind of the values from this product. I'm just going to copy them. And I'm going to come back to LDA and just paste them in. And again, if you're looking at this for the first time, yes, we can take values from the spreadsheet and import them. We can also search for certain values. So there's, depending on what kind of information you're trying to represent, we can certainly look at, displaying and kind of graphically representing that information. Now I'm going to go down. I'm also going to be really careful about, which sort of charts that I use. So again, I don't necessarily need an annual premium and a sum of premium because I'm only doing one product. I don't really need to compare those. So I'm just going to actually take out the annual premium, focus on the sum. I'm not going to do cash and insurance or cash overlay, but I am going to do this this cash and insurance. So basically I want them all on the same chart. Again, I'm going to take out credit to the CDA. I'll leave in presentation summary. I'm going to take out an alternate investment on this one, though I can see some use for it. And I'm going to take out that internal rate of return cash value, internal rate of return, and the equivalency ones. And I'll leave in my contact details there. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to generate this report here once I've got sort of the report components that I'd like to use in this case. And let's just kind of go through again. There's a couple different ways we can structure this, but this is going to be kind of our sample case that we prepared for a charitable gift. Again, we've got our mission statement here, and we've got our premium schedule. So again, this is, as I say, there's a couple different ways to structure this. I could either pay $6,000 every single year into the policy and get a tax write-off. I could pay this personally and give my lump sum of the insurance benefit and get that as the tax write-off. It really depends on what the goal is from a tax perspective, because that is definitely one of the benefits of, again, giving to any charity, but even through life insurance, again, is that those premiums or that the benefit can be used for that tax deduction. So again, nothing changes in that respect, though there are a few considerations on how we might want to set this up. Again, though, we want to show the sum of premiums here. So this is just, the total cost, and they can see, over the course of a lifetime, all they would have deposited would be $331,000, and that's if they live to age 100 to give $500,000. So again, we're giving $500,000. Again, if we kind of just go out into life expectancy and look at, we pay $251 and we give $500. If we were to just take that $6,000 every year and give it to our charity, like we might already be doing, or some of your clients may already be doing, great, they're going to give about $251,000. However, we can almost double the impact of that same deposit using life insurance, and that's really what I really like to see. And so that's why I include a chart like this. It's got some cash and insurance. Normally I wouldn't focus on this cash value, and I've designed it to not be significant. Again, the only reason I might kind of build something in there is if you need to take a premium vacation, it might be beneficial to have some cash in there. But really what I want to highlight is the efficiency, and what I want people to think about is my gift is the blue and all I'm paying is the red. And if I can focus on that concept and say, look at the extra gift that I'm giving per dollar deposit. Again, in this sort of scenario, if we're paying this deposit, we get to write it off as a tax, like a charitable contribution. Though if we do pass away, or ultimately, again, at some point, we're going to be giving a much larger gift than our deposit. And that's the whole strength of this concept in my eyes, is that we get to accelerate that deposit that we're giving. Again, nice presentation summary, showing just what we've deposited, any cash value. So again, thinking about when we could take a premium vacation if we needed. Again, after 15 years, we could skip a year if we needed to, if something, if it was tough. And again, you can see it builds up some cash value. So there is some buffer perhaps in those retirement years if we wanted to take a few different years off. And that's the only reason I might think about a cash value inside the policy. Again, feel free to design these even with less in there, but it might be kind of a nice buffer. Now, again, we might want to go back and include a little bit of information in the form of, just sort of a report note page. But what I've actually done, and I'm welcome to share this with you guys. If you would like it, just ask me for it. I can share this template for you. I've set up a shareable MailChimp template. And again, you can insert your own logo there. So again, I can share this with you. All you have to do is click one link and you put your logo in. We've got a nice little banner that says Protect and Grow Your Wealth. Again, fairly generic, but it has some information about this concept, charitable giving using life insurance. So again, we sort of have a statement about who would use this concept or why it's so good. So I put in there, it's natural that if we're successful, we want to give something back to the less fortunate and help them. Not many people know this, but life insurance provide a way in which you can make larger gifts than you might thought possible. I'd like to share some different ways that you can benefit your favorite charity and minimize your tax burden using life insurance as a gift. So again, that's sort of why we're getting them to read. So we're giving them a little bit of the teaser. So now we want to give them some value points on how this strategy can work for me. And as I mentioned, there's a couple different ways that we can do this. I've listed a few of the popular ones, such as designating the charity as the beneficiary on a new or, again, existing policy. The estate of the insured will receive the charitable tax receipt for the amount paid of the policy, and the charity receives a substantial donation, and the tax deduction can be applied by the estate in the year of death. Again, transfer of a new or existing policy to the charity with a pledge to pay the premiums each year. Another big fan of this one because, again, you're really only on the hook for the premium. You get a tax receipt for that premium. At the end of it, again, you don't get the insurance policy that gets paid directly to the charity, but the same sort of efficiency. Again, there's a couple other strategies like wealth replacement insurance or buy a life insurance policy equivalent to the value of your registered retirement income fund. Or, again, any of your other registered savings accounts. On the death, the charity issues a charitable tax receipt, which offsets the tax implication of the RIF proceeds. So, again, I've set up a couple different ways to do this. Again, there's no real one solution fits all. And again, feel free to edit these if you don't want to suggest a certain strategy. You can edit this template just by clicking on it. And again, you can change this sort of text that's in there. But again, the last point I put here is what are the benefits of this insurance strategy? And again, we have have a couple of them. The big one for me is that life insurance amplifies the amount you give to the charitable gift. So again, I think there's probably a lot of people out there who are, giving a certain amount per year, and again, they probably have a favorite charity or some cause that's close to their heart where they give to every single year without even thinking about, could I give more? So life insurance is a great strategy. I also put a case study in here. So I put that, basically this is our kind of call to action. So I just put Gil's 45. He's done well for himself as a small business owner. He's already active with charities in his community, but he's looking to give a more substantial gift to the college that gave him his start. He could continue to give $6,000 for a year in the next 40 years and had given a $240,000 gift, or he could use life insurance and almost double the impact of the same contribution. And again, view the sample case to see the impact of the same deposit. So again, we want them to get excited and view this example. And you can see in here, I've got a call to action or a button saying, view this example of how much Gil could have given using life insurance. And again, all I have to do here is link this button to the shared case that we just created. So again, all I'm going to do here is go back up to the top, and I'm going to click this share button. And again, as I said, this is a premier feature. This is our interactive case sharing where we can link anyone to the cases that we create. Now in this sort of scenario, again, because I'm going to be sending it to a diverse audience, I want to request whoever's going to view this concept put in some personal information such as first name, last name, their email and phone number. And I'm just going to update that link. And again, what I'm going to do is just copy this link here. And what I want to do once I've got that link is I'm going to bring it over and say this is where I'm directing them. So I've got this case in there, and I'll save and close that. Now, again, I'm just going to go into a preview mode and see how this looks here. Of course, you're going to put your own logo in there. You're going to have this great email concept that talks about a charitable gift. And when they click on this, and again, I'm going to open it in a new incognito window, it's going to take them directly to your shared case. Now, of course, they're going to have to put in their information. So I'm just going to say this is Bob Doe and proceed. And again, it's going to capture that information and say this is a client who looked at it. Now, again, of course, the client could comment on the case. They can give you a call. They can email you, visit your website, and they can actually view this concept report and see the efficiency of the premium deposits here versus how much more would be given for life insurance. And again, you may want to simplify this to just strictly this one page or the page plus the title. I'll let you guys decide on what report components you feel are really necessary and how to structure it. But the whole idea is we can get someone engaged in looking at what they give to charity already versus how much they could give. And really, it's just a matter of the sum of premiums versus the total insurance benefit. And I think we'll always see, for the most part, it does vary a little bit based on client age, but insurance is almost always able to give a better charitable contribution per the same dollars because it has that pooling effect. Now, the neat thing here is, again, when your client leaves the case, or no matter how much time they spend on it, when you come back to your life design analysis account, again, I'll just go in and I'll kind of go back to this case here as the advisor. Once we refresh the page, what we're going to see is, again, that wonderful notification telling us someone has visited our shared case. And as you can see, this one was viewed by Bob Doe. So again, if we send this to our whole prospect list, our whole client list, the ones who actually engage with the report, those are the people who are more interested in this kind of concept. And again, we can filter out and get an idea who's really interested, who's not so interested. But again, it's adding that kind of value for our client base. So again, hopefully you can put something like that into practice. And again, as I say, it doesn't have to be a charitable gift. Last week we did a cascading insurance concept. Next time I'll probably show you again how to maybe structure a term conversion campaign. But if you need any help setting these up, again, if you're looking for that template, again, I have a shareable MailChimp template, which is MailChimp is a free program where you can send an email to all kind of your prospects or clients. If you'd like the template, get in touch with us, info@lifedesignanalysis. More than happy to share that with you. And again, if you're using LDA and you're just looking for, a little review on how you can structure one of these cases or campaigns, more than happy to help out in that area. Okay, so the last topic I wanted to talk about was notifications and how to create custom notifications. So let's have a scenario here. I'm just going to go into my manage cases here, and I'm going to look for a policy. Let's even use our repurchase now versus at renewal case. So let's say, for example, Mrs. Wants to Wait goes, Charlie, you make an excellent point. Health is really the most valuable. I'm going to purchase that new Term 10 now, as opposed to waiting for my renewal point. So we go ahead, we issue the policy, we do all of that fantastic work, and we get her this new policy. Now, as part of our client service, one of the things we may want to do, and you may have processes in place to do this where you say, at a set amount of time, I want to touch base, could be 3 months, could be a year, and say, thank you. Maybe it's we need a reminder to send a custom GIF or something like that. Or, again, maybe you do yearly reviews and you want to make sure you touch base before that, the next premium comes out or something like that, just to ensure you're giving that client service. Well, a great way to use this, especially around a sale, would be to take the case link here, and I'm just going to copy it here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my notifications tab here where we just saw that, again, our client has visited the case. Now, what I want to do is up at the top, you're going to see create a reminder. And again, this would be a fantastic opportunity for baking in some of those sales follow-ups that you might have. So again, these might even be following up in 4 months from a prospect. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to set a URL to be the case. I'm going to schedule it for August of 2018. I'll give it to the beginning of the month. And, I could say a time like 11 a.m. kind of thing. And I'm going to say follow up with Mrs. Wants to Wait. It's coming up for her 1 year renewal. And again, I can create a reminder. So even though we have reminders on things like term policy opportunities, swaps, exchanges, you guys might want reminders on your own cases and prospects, or even something that's not in force. Maybe we present this to Mrs. Wants to Wait, and she says, that's great, but I think I'll wait 1 more year and we'll do it next year. Again, you may want to create a reminder to follow up on that opportunity. Again, there may be other certain critical policy opportunities. We might have, for instance, a link that we want to send to a client, and what we could do is we could look at that particular client and we could again pull an article. So let me just see if I can show you. So I'm just going to go to advisor.ca. Again, we might want to pair an article about donating life insurance and saving tax. So this might be a follow-up campaign. So what we might do is we might take this article, and again, when we see Bob Doe has visited the case we shared, again, what we can do is create a reminder, and we could make it for a certain date and say maybe in about 2 weeks or a week's time, we say send this article to Bob Doe. And we can create that reminder. Oh, I'll give it a time. I'll say 10 a.m. and create the reminder. So again, I can now get reminders on who's actually visited the case and create sort of a workflow to follow up with them. Again, this could be things for service opportunities, sales reminders, it could be for tax change rules and things like that, where you want to make sure that you remind yourself so-and-so's product is now changed, or this is the last day for applications on Canada Life, and send yourself little reminders inside the system that you'll get email notifications when you have those outstanding reminders. So that's just a couple ideas on how you could create reminders for yourself. Just a couple of updates in housekeeping. Again, we're working hard on kind of improving the importer. So we've got the client importer where you can bring in a custom spreadsheet. Again, working really hard on getting all those client requests that you guys have sent into us uploaded into your account. I should also mention, if you're on a VertGate back office system, again, you can request an XML file of all of your clients through the VertGate system and just import it into our system just by saying import and drag that XML file. And again, just contact VertGate if you're looking for that XML file. If you don't know what an XML file is, don't worry. Just say you're looking for an export of your client base in the form of an XML file. They'll know exactly what you're talking about. You could even say we're bringing into Life Design Analysis. And again, you can bring in all of your clients through that integration there. One of the other areas that we've recently improved in the site as well that I want to bring attention to is actually our Help Center. And again, I'm really proud of how we redesigned this. I think it offers a lot of information in there. So again, if you're ever looking for ideas or any sort of LDA resources, step-by-step guides, videos, our FAQs, again, visit our Help Center. So I'll just show you again from the main dashboard here. If you just click on Help at the top, it'll take you to our Help Center here. And again, you can click for step-by-step guides. These would be how to import from certain companies. Again, we've updated that to include all of the different companies that we import from. There's a page, a nice dedicated landing page on our client imports. So again, we can open that up and see, if you wanted to bring in your clients, it's more of a step-by-step guide on that client import. Of course, some of our articles like how to make LDA a shortcut on any device, or if you wanted to see color schemes and templates and things like how to customize your report. Again, as always, we've got tons of video resources. So again, anytime we make a new feature or when we do one of these webinars, if we don't have a video concept of it, again, of course, you can go and see, say our buy term invest, the different strategy and how to set up a case using this, how to layer plans. So again, take a look at some of our videos that we have on there. Again, there's a show more button where you can see some of our other popular videos. And again, I really want to encourage everyone, not only visit the channel, but definitely subscribe, because anytime we add a new video, if you subscribe, you'll get notification on those new videos. So those are all the new concepts and features that always get made into videos for this Help Center. Again, we have some other resources too. So again, if you haven't, visit our blog for some neat ideas and presentation tips. We've got our FAQs on certain aspects if you're just looking at us for the first time. Again, any software update, we try and push a monthly update so you can take a look at those. And if you're looking to watch any of our past webinars, so maybe from before you even found out about us, again, we have a full playlist of every webinar since we started recording them. So again, go check out past webinars. There may be an idea that you've missed or just a simple feature in LDA that you're overlooking and didn't realize was there. But again, that's our Help Center. So again, a lot of updated information in there. And again, if you're ever stuck or just looking for ideas, this is a fantastic resource to leverage. Other than that, again, we're working really hard on creating some new metrics that are really exciting going forward. And we have a lot planned that we think you'll really like. So thanks so much for participating in the webinar, and look forward to seeing you next month. Look forward to any feedback or questions you have. And if you need any assistance with any of the features you've seen today, again, don't hesitate to reach out to our sales and support team. Thanks so much. Take care.